Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, July 28th. How's everybody doing on this Tuesday morning? How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? I'm not going to be live for too long, but I had a little bit of time to go live just for a little bit, just to talk a little Yankees baseball, folks. But how's everybody doing on this Tuesday morning? Make sure you all hit the like button, hit that subscribe, share this channel out with everybody you know. I would greatly appreciate it. We are on the road to 3,000 subscribers. We're a little over 40 subs away from hitting that 3,000. So if you're out there and you're watching for the first time, hit that sub button. Let's sub up. Let's get to that 3,000 number, because once we hit 3,000, I'll be giving away three giveaways, 3 gift card giveaways to Fanatics. What's up, D's channel? How's it going? But the Yankees have been I've been getting hit with the injury bug, right? I mean, obviously Stanton's been out for a while. Judge has been out for a little while. And now, we have Cody Bellinger, who's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with a grade 2 hamstring injury. And those are 3 big bats that are missing in the lineup. That's 1/3 of your lineup missing, and 3 really good 3 really good bats missing in your lineup. I mean, 3 key bats, and it's going to have some sort of effect on the lineup. I mean, it's just the way it's going to go. What's up there, Joseph? How's it going? Having 3 big names in your lineup missing, due to injury or whatever the reason may be, it's going to hurt. I mean, it's gonna hurt any team. It's gonna affect the lineup. I understand. The backup players, right, that are playing right now are not exactly performing up, the way they should be. You're not gonna have the backup players are just that. That's what the backup players are, man. The backup players are there to fill in holes in case guys get hurt. I mean, this isn't going to be like an expensive bench players that are going to come in and have the same level of production as guys like Judge, Stanton, and Bellinger, right? I mean, you can't replace those guys, right, in the lineup currently. So, are the Yankees going to be able to survive the storm? They don't have a choice, right? They're gonna have to try and win as many games as possible moving forward, right, without these guys in the lineup. Right now the Yankees have a record of 60-46. They're 2.5 games behind the Rays. So despite some of the struggles with the Yankees, recently, especially with the bats. The Yankees are still 2.5 games. I mean, despite some of the struggles, that's to me, that's not a bad thing to be 2.5 games. It could have been a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. But they're here. They're still hanging on. They're still trying to win games. I know some games are painful to watch. I get it. Last night's game was awesome, right? They beat the Chicago White Sox in the series opener. Congratulations to Ali Sanchez hitting his first career major league home run. It was a big one too. So congratulations to him. But the Yankees had a lot. They came back from behind, and they've had several games this season where they came back from behind and won. Something that I would say we're not the most familiar with the Yankees coming from behind in a lot of these games. But, we've seen it in the past where if they're losing, these guys coming from behind is not going to exactly pan out. Right. But it's nice to see that this type of stuff during the this season. But I think obviously, the Yankees are gonna have to survive the storm, right? Without their key players. The one thing that's been really holding up the Yankees, obviously, is their pitching, and their pitching has just been phenomenal for the Yankees, right? You got to shout out to the starting rotation, right? Cam Schlittler, he's been holding it down. Max Fried did struggle last night. But when he came back last week, he looked really good, and Cole seems seems to be finding his groove, right? I mean, you got to remember Cole coming back from Tommy John surgery, and it takes a while for these guys that come back from Tommy John surgery to get back to the player that they were. And Max Fried, just recently came back, right? So it's gonna take him a little bit as well. Again, he didn't have the greatest of outings, but I think it's gonna take him a little bit. So, and it's gonna be the same thing with Carlos Rodon when he gets up or when he gets back, right? So, it's gonna be it'll take him a little bit of time, but once the Yankees have a full strength rotation, the rotation is gonna be nothing to mess with. And obviously, the Yankees bullpen has just been, on fire, man. I mean, you gotta give credit where credit is due. With Paul Blackburn, with Brent Hedrick. I mean, these two guys in particular have stepped up big time for the Yankees. I remember, if you remember in the beginning of the season, not a lot of people were excited for Blackburn. Not a lot of people were excited for Hedrick. Why are these guys on the, why are they on the team? The Yankees bullpen sucked. And I'll be the first one to admit, going into the season, that was one of the things I questioned was, the Yankees bullpen. And the Yankees bullpen is, number one, if not number one, they're number two in the league. Right. And when it comes to the ERA, the bullpen for the Yankees has just been lights out. I still say the Yankees are obviously going to look for pitching at the bullpen at the deadline. I think that's a given. I mean, that's something the Yankees are going to do. And I don't think pitching should be ignored. And I'm not ignoring the offense. The Yankees offense certainly needs to be addressed. And now, I asked myself, with Cody Bellinger now hurt, on top of Stanton, on top of Judge, does this change their approach for the deadline? Do they now, are they going to be more focused on offensive bats, or are they still going to keep a balance between bats and pitching? I think that, for me, I think they're definitely going to put a little bit more focus on the bats. They're not going to ignore the pitching, right? We know what names have been mentioned as far as pitching goes. But what bats could they possibly go after, right? And we know some names have been mentioned. What up, Dev? What's going on, buddy? Nah, I'm not up early. I'm usually up around this time, but I'm usually at work. But my work schedule temporarily changed, so you're not going to always see me at this time. But I had a little bit of time this morning. But yeah, that's why I'm live right now. Like I said, I'm not going to be live for too long, but I had a little bit of time to do this. And these channels saying, who are you interested in the trade deadline? Do you think we could require a third baseman, shortstop, second baseman, and a catcher in the trade deadline or not? What up, Hector? What's going on? So who am I interested at the deadline? Obviously Mason Miller, right? I don't want to jump on the train just because everybody else is, but Mason Miller obviously I think is going to be one of the hottest names during the trade deadline, right? He is one of the hottest names, if not the hottest name that's being mentioned right now. I would like for the Yankees to get Mason Miller, but at the same time, I'm not going to be heartbroken if the Yankees don't get Mason Miller. I would be satisfied if the Yankees ended up getting, two really good, reliable arms, right? Two good quality arms. I mean, the Yankees have plenty of quality arms right now, but I wouldn't mind the Yankees getting, two quality arms just to, make the bullpen better than what it is right now. I mean, that could be an Estrada, right? That could be a Morjon. Those, guys like that, the other pitchers that play for the Padres. I wouldn't mind the Yankees looking at those two guys. So, that could equal the price of a Mason Miller, just to kind of spread the love around. Now, do I think the Yankees could acquire a third baseman, shortstop, second baseman, and a catcher? Now, listen, catcher is going to be the big focus for the Yankees. I don't think there's any doubt there. That's going to be, as far as offense goes, that's going to be priority number one. Is going to be the catcher. That is going to be priority number one. Obviously, you could forget about Langeliers. He's out for the rest of the season with a torn meniscus, so you could forget about him. I think obviously Jeffers is going to be the name that they're definitely gonna look at. Jeffers is a rental. Hunter Goodman is another one, right? Hunter Goodman. There's been things said about his game as a defensive catcher not being the greatest, but his bat his bat is what's needed in this lineup, right? Since we're talking about offense, you look at his stats for Hunter Goodman at the moment, right? So far this season, 260 batting average, 31 home runs, 60 RBIs, 331 on base percentage, right? Let me pull up the rest of the stats here. An 888 OPS. Those are fantastic numbers, right? Those are fantastic numbers. Now, to point something out about Hunter Goodman, right? Which is, and I point this out because a lot of folks like to point this particular stat out, and that's what strikeouts. He struck out 133 times this season. So that's a lot of strikeouts, right? So, we as a fan base, we do complain about how much the Yankees strike out, but he strikes out a lot. Is that something you're going to be okay with? And his defense not being the greatest, is that something that you're going to be okay with? Because the Yankees, although, the catching is a weak spot for the Yankees right now, as far as offense goes. The Yankees do value Wells' defense. They do like the way he calls games. They like his relationship with the pitchers, and that's important, right? He's got that relationship with the starting pitchers, with the bullpen, with the pitching staff. He's got that relationship with those guys. And whether you bring in a Hunter Goodman, whether you bring in a Ryan Jeffers, when you bring in a new catcher to a brand new team, to a brand new pitching staff, there is going to be an adjustment period. Right, you got to get used to 13 new pitchers on a team that you have never worked with, right? So there's also that factor. And again, I'm not opposed to Hunter Goodman whatsoever. I mean, I like the offensive numbers. I like the metrics here. It would be a big bat in the lineup. It would be a big power bat in the lineup. I mean, those numbers are incredible. Great numbers. You were hoping those type of numbers for Austin Wells. However, Wells is nowhere near that. He's not going to get anywhere near that from what it looks like. So, you could forget about that. But Hunter Goodman, I wouldn't be opposed to him, but he's going to be an expensive piece. I think the Rockies are obviously going to be selling. Rockies ain't going nowhere. But he is going to be an expensive piece, but he would be worth it too, because he does come with years of control. I don't think I would have zero complaints about this. He would have been my first choice over a guy like Langeliers. I think Langeliers, personally, I don't think he would have been a New York Yankee anyway, even if he wasn't hurt. But I'm looking at Ryan Jeffers' numbers right now, and he's going to be purely a rental. He'll be a free agent after the season. Maybe this might interest the Yankees a little bit more, right? Because then he'd be a rental. Then they could explore in the offseason whether or not they want to sign him back, right? So right now he's got a 930 OPS with a 395 on base percentage, 293 batting average, 9 home runs, 35 RBIs. So, I'm not so worried about the home run numbers. Right. I'm not worried about the home run numbers. I'm worried about guys that could get on base, can hit for contact, get and put the ball in play. Right. That's more or less what I'm more interested in. Right. The Yankees could hit home runs. That's not an issue for the New York Yankees. But they need guys that can hit. Right. Not just solely rely on home runs. And let me say what's up to a few other people in the chat. Stephen B, Miss 1000's in the building. What's up, Margaret? How you doing? You and me both. I hope they trade Volpe. And I wanted to answer the other questions from D's channel. Listen, they're not going to, I don't think they're going to replace Ryan McMahon. I don't think they're going to get a new third baseman, right? I know McMahon's bat isn't exactly the greatest, but his glove at third base is valuable, right? The Yankees haven't had a good third baseman. When we're talking defense, the Yankees haven't had a good third baseman in quite some time. And there was a reason why the Yankees had traded for him last year, right? Is to provide that defense at third base. So I don't think they're going to replace McMahon at third base. Personally, that's what I think. Shortstop. I know Caballero, Volpe, obviously, especially Volpe. I know these guys aren't exactly cutting it. If they're going to replace anybody at shortstop, I don't think they'll acquire anybody unless they try to go after like a Zach Neto. But I think if what is being said is true, if the Yankees are thinking about calling up George Lombard Jr., I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know about them acquiring a shortstop. I think they'll call up George Lombard Jr. and see what he can do. I know a lot of fans want it. I know a lot of folks would love to see that. Me personally, I'd be interested, but at the same time, I'd be a little skeptical. And I know a lot, and some folks might come after me for this, but and with prospects, that transition from the minor leagues to the majors, it's an adjustment period. You got to give these guys time. We know Lombard is a phenomenal defender. We know he's great with the glove. We know he's been hitting well in the minors, but can he do the same at the major league level is the question, right? It doesn't hurt to try. But when you're trying to make it into the playoffs, you're trying to play for the playoffs, you're trying to win a championship. Do you want to put Lombard in that spot? And Lombard himself is not going to solve all the problems by himself. Like it's not going to, it's not going to be all him. You gotta have multiple guys that are going to help this team win, right? It takes more than one player. Second base, second base is up in the air. I know there's times where Jazz Chisholm shows flashes, and then there's other times where he looks absolutely lost. I feel like sometimes, he's his own worst enemy. If Jazz were to get traded, right, my feelings wouldn't be hurt, but there needs to be somebody that's going to bring production. I mean, Luis Ariza's name has been mentioned heavily. I wouldn't mind. Obviously, I definitely would love to have Luis Ariza. He'd be a good replacement for Jazz. He's a guy that gets a lot of hits, gets on base. His defense has greatly improved with the Giants. So so I would like to see Luis Ariza take what's his face's place. Take Jazz's place. He'd be the only guy that I would think of for second base, but I don't think the Yankees are going to acquire third baseman. I think that is Ryan McMahon's position. I think that's his to keep. And shortstop, they could explore Zach Neto. He could be an option. Obviously, CJ Abrams. That's a name that's been heavily mentioned. But for me, I like Abrams. But at the same time, what is the point of bringing Abrams when you have a Lombard Jr. That's waiting in the wings? I feel like if you bring in CJ Abrams, you're blocking Lombard. But it depends on what the Yankees want to do. But I think Lombard is a guy that could potentially get brought up. So right, so I don't see the Yankees acquiring a shortstop or a third baseman. Second base, possibly. Catcher, definitely. But let's not forget the outfield too. The Yankees, I think, might acquire a bat for the outfield. Somebody in the short term, especially with the three big bats that are hurt right now. So Could they be looking at a Taylor Ward? They could be, they could be looking at a Lane Thomas, somebody that's going to help them out in the short term. So, those are the couple of names that come to mind as far as, what players can the Yankees trade for. But I think they need any bat that they get. I mean, it's gotta be righty bats, righty bats that hit lefties really well. Blaze, what's up? He's saying, can Cashman and Yankees find the bats they need by trading at the deadline? How about a player for player deal? For example, if the Giants approach the Yankees, we could offer Chapman and cover half of his contract. So you're saying the Giants offering Chapman and half of his contract? I mean, I don't know if I want Matt Chapman, to be honest. I mean, what does his stats look like? I haven't exactly looked. 235 batting average, 7 home runs. On-base percentage of 324, struck out 81 times, 37 walks. I mean, does his numbers say that his contract is worth it? The 692 OPS, right? So, the OPS has been a stat that folks are looking at. I mean, 692 OPS, is that attractive? I don't think so. I mean, I would personally pass on Matt Chapman. I just want to see his contract. I mean, he's owed $25 million for the next 4 seasons. He'll be a free agent in 2031. He's got a full no trade clause. The money that he's getting paid is not worth it. And I doubt the Giants would eat half of it. So, but that's just me. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Stephen B, you bring up a good point here. Ryan McMahon is under contract for 1 more year, right? After this season, he's under contract for 2027, and then after that, he's done. I don't want to say he's done, but he's a free agent. At that point, do I see the Yankees bringing him back? Probably not. I don't think so. I think the Yankees will explore their options elsewhere. Matthew, what's up? He says NFE the Angels should trade Mike Trout to the Phillies so he could finally make the playoffs again his career. That's up to the Angels. I mean, I feel bad for guys like Mike Trout, man. Mike Trout's an incredible player, reeled by injuries, but him getting traded, I don't see it. So Stephen B says CJ Abrams, the Nationals wants Lombard Jr. in the deal. I don't see it. I don't see it either. Besides Lombard, or not Lombard, but CJ Abrams he's also a lefty bat, right? The Yankees have enough lefty bats right now in the lineup. They don't need another lefty bat. I like Abrams. Don't get me wrong. I do like Abrams. Yes, he would be an absolute upgrade over Caballero. He'd be definitely a complete upgrade over Anthony Volpe. I don't think there's no denying that. But again, the Yankees have George Lombard Jr. waiting in the wings, and Lombard Jr. is an untouchable, right? Lombard Jr. is untouchable. So I don't think Lombard Jr. is going anywhere. I think every player right now on the Yankees team, besides Lombard Jr., right, besides the obvious names that are going to be on this team, I think a lot of players right now, are tradable, and this could be the year where the Yankees are going to actually go all in. Maybe Cashman, maybe Hal Steinbrenner is probably thinking, you know what, if there's a year to do it, maybe this is the year to do it, because there might not be a baseball season next year. So, we also gotta anticipate that. Stephen B says, I could see us going get someone maybe next year, or letting someone come up from the farm, Kent, Kilby, or Arias ready by Keaton Kent, I think, has a little bit of ways to go, but I like him. Dax Kilby's moved up in the rankings fairly quickly. I could potentially see him personally. I could see him as a second baseman. Kilby, potentially, right? Roderick Arias. I don't know what the future holds for Roderick Arias. I'm assuming that you're talking about Roderick Arias. Personally, I don't know what the future holds for him for Roderick Arias. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the future holds for him. Him and Lombard Jr. was supposed to be the guys that were coming up together, but I don't see a future for him. I don't. Just like I don't see a future with Anthony Volpe. I mean, I saw a couple of the comments saying that folks are hoping that Volpe gets traded. You and me both. I've been done with Volpe for a while. I don't hate the guy. I just I'm just done with him. I think he might be better elsewhere. I think he'd be a better player elsewhere. Not with the Yankees though. PC's Music Hit says Cashman can't satisfy me, but I'll pretend to be excited. Hey, listen, we can only hope, right? We can only hope the Yankees are going to pull off some moves to help improve this team for the regular season and going into the playoffs. Because again, this to me, I think this is the year where you have to, you got to go all in now, right? You got to go all in now, and try to make something happen this year. Matthew says, and if you imagine if we get Luis Ariz and then Tampa gets Jazz Chisholm Jr., that would be something. I would love for the Yankees to get Ariz, but Jazz going to the Rays. Again, I don't see it. They moved who to third there, Stephen B. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Lombard Jr.? But the Yankees are going to have to survive the storm. I know they're riddled with injuries right now. Injuries don't help, especially with three big bats. They got 3 more games against the White Sox, and then they have 3 games against the Cubs. So they're going to be in Chicago this whole week. Right now, they're on the south side of Chicago. And just to look ahead in the month of August, obviously they got the first 2 days of August in against the Cubs. They complete their series. Then they play against the Cardinals, Braves, Mariners, Blue Jays, Orioles, the Blue Jays again. Then they play the Astros, and then they have a 4-game set against the Red Sox. And one of those games, it's going to be a doubleheader. And then August 31st, it's going to be the first game of the series against the Angels in LA. And then going into September, they end their series with the Angels in a 3-game set. So, August, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a little bit of an easier schedule. Every month for the Yankees has been a tough schedule. This one, is slight. I'm going to say slightly easier, but I'm not sleeping on any of these teams, especially the Red Sox. We saw what the Red Sox did earlier this year. So, I don't see a world where I think the month of like I said, I think the month of August is a little bit easier comparatively, but it's not going to be easy, right? I'm not saying that it's going to be a cakewalk by any stretch, but it's a little bit easier compared to the rest of the months, to previous months. Arias to third, yeah. I mean, Arias could be a third baseman, Stephen B. But again, I don't know what the future holds for Arias. I don't, again, I'm not sure. 3-team trade and the Giants get a couple prospects. So are you talking like Yankees, Rays, and Giants in a 3-team trade? But yeah, but yeah, like I said, the Yankees, all in all, right? They They have work to do. I don't think there's. Oh, okay. So you're talking 3-team trade. I mean, maybe, but I don't think the Rays have a need for. I don't think the Rays have a need for him though. For Jazz, that's just what I think. But as I was saying, the Yankees got work to do. All right, the Yankees have work to do. Obviously, I think the catcher position is going to be the biggest priority for the Yankees. I think that's what they're going to heavily focus on. Um, and as far as other bats go, I would say they'll look for a right-handed bat that plays the outfield. Um, then the question becomes, do guys like Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez, do either one of these guys get traded? Or do they both stay right now? I mean, they're on the team. They're trying to help, right? And then I think the Yankees, like I said, I don't think they get another infielder other than second base. I think maybe they'll replace Jazz with a Luis Arias or another player that we're not even thinking of. And then I think the Yankees, obviously, they're looking at Mason Miller. They're definitely looking at Mason Miller. So Mason Miller could be, Mason Miller could be coming to, he could get traded to the Yankees if the Yankees give them a nice little package. So, a guy like Will Warren might be in that package, right? A guy like Will Warren, you give him a few, pitching prospects. That's what I'm thinking, right? So for the Yankees and the Padres to make a deal. If it's not Mason Miller, I think they go after two quality arms, or who knows? Who knows what the Yankees are going to do? And speaking of pitchers, apparently there's a lot of teams that are interested in Clark Schmidt. We know Clark Schmidt's been, he's been throwing. So at some point he's going to come back. But will the Yankees trade him, or will they use him in a long relief role? I think the Yankees might utilize him as a long relief guy, right? So a lot of pieces to the puzzle that the Yankees have to solve. We'll see what happens. Stephen B says, I don't see Miller coming. I mean, listen, if he doesn't come, I'm not going to be completely heartbroken. But I think the Yankees should still look into getting, two good quality arms to help the bullpen. The bullpen's already, the bullpen's fine already, right? But let's make it even better, because come playoff time, the bullpen needs to be strong, right? It needs to be strong. That needs to be, helping the team out, especially in the postseason. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, folks, like I said, I was just going to go live for just a little bit, but I am going to end the live stream here. Thank you to everybody that joined this morning for a little bit. I've been live for a little over 30 minutes, but I just wanted to go live real quick just to talk and let you all know what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. It's going to be tough, right? It's going to be a tough month for the Yankees, especially with the guys that are hurt. And hopefully they make the right moves at the deadline. And those right moves help this team, succeed for the rest of the season. And, we'll see what happens, folks. We'll see what happens, but stay tuned. The game plan for me, I won't be going live for the play-by-play tonight, but I should be going live tomorrow and the next day for the rest of the White Sox series. And I do plan on going live on trade deadline day. So I hope to see all of you there. But thank you all very much. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy your day. Be well. And as always, let's go Yankees. Don't forget to hit that like, hit that subscribe. See y'all later.